Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 676, an intro to Ultraman. And what a way to learn about Ultraman. I've never watched the show. I've watched shows that have been inspired by Ultraman because Ultraman is so old. I think it came out in the 70s or at least the 60s even. I don't remember. But it's been around for a while and it's inspired manga and anime throughout the decades. And we were just talking about a few other shows that we might have watched or heard of. Like I'm thinking of like Tekkaman Blade from the 90s that had a very 80s style and vibe to it. And the various other kinds of shows like the superhero genre of more than one or two superheroes come to the planet to save Earth from some invasion. And it's all for kids. It's all fun. So I think the entire Robotech genre was inspired by it. It was just this massive influence on all of anime and manga. It's still going on, as far as I recall. They are still making live action and animations of Ultraman, and I think Kamen Rider is another popular one around the time as well. But I grew up with Grandizer Go, so that is, again, tangentially related, not directly. So lots of inspiration, and you may not know it, but even modern stuff, like I think Ant-Man was inspired by Ultraman, at least the design of his suit. Maybe not the story, but so there's lots of influence from Ultraman, whether you know it or not. So watching this video should be pretty educational, and luckily we do have a person who's actually watched Ultraman, at least one of the many iterations of Ultraman over the years. That's Matthias.
Yeah,
Matthias. Thank you.
yeah, I watched Ultraman and Ultra 7, some episodes of Ultra 7, and a special show of Ultraman Max, which is not, it's a spin-off, it's not an actual show.
Okay, and there's also the live action adaptations of various shows like this. There's the Sentais, so you have like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is live
I
action.
also played the video games, which were really fun to play.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good.
And really hard to understand because they were all exclusive to Japan, and so you needed to decipher which was versus, which was the arcade, which was the story mode.
Interesting. Okay. So it sounds like they were really easily translatable to arcade games. It's kind of cool. All right. Okay, so this video is by Mr.FalconPunch, came out 2 years ago. And it's got almost 17,000 views. So I don't know if we're going to enjoy this or going to be confused, or we'd be like, that's cool. That's weird. Yeah.
Probably we're going to understand. We will probably going to like it because I don't think it is a problematic video. It's just an introduction.
All right, fair enough. 19 minutes. Let's get going.
Falcon! When it comes to Japanese superheroes, you'd be hard-pressed to find any bigger, both figuratively and literally, than Ultraman. Ultraman is arguably one of the most iconic Japanese superheroes out there, with the Ultra franchise having a massive impact not just on tokusatsu, but overall pop culture. Which is why in this introduction to Ultraman, I'll be going through what the series is all about, a brief history of the franchise, its legacy and appeal, and finally get into some recommendations. Keep in mind, while I have watched my fair share of Ultraman, I have by no means seen everything Ultraman, and wanted to make this video in order to help people both learn and get into the Ultraman franchise. So before we get any deeper in this video, what exactly is Ultraman all about? A giant of light from outer space, known as Ultraman, comes down to Earth either fusing with a human host or disguising themselves as a human to defend Earth from various monsters and aliens, usually with the aid of some sort of patrol team. Now, unlike Kamen Rider, which I've previously made an introduction video on, Ultraman doesn't have an extreme shift in its older and newer series, at least in terms of how they play out, as the newer or Heisei/Reiwa era series still build off on a lot of the foundations of the older Showa era series, in being a nice balance of intriguing sci-fi and giant monster and superhero fun. However, towards the second part of the Heisei era, we got the new generation heroes, which were shorter in episode length, going from the previous 30 to 50 episodes to being somewhere in the 20s. There's also much more of a toyetic focus on the new gen series, as well as way more callbacks and references to previous Ultra series and events, which seems like where the franchise will be staying with going forward. When talking about the history of Ultraman, you gotta talk about the franchise's lead creator, Eiji Tsuburaya, a special effects legend who worked on many of Toho's monster movies throughout the 50s and 60s. The most notable of which, of course, being Godzilla, in which he played a massive role in Japanese filmmaking and tokusatsu itself with the use of detailed miniatures as well as the technique of suitmation. After his time in Toho, he later started Tsuburaya Productions to bring his special effects work to the small screen. Tsuburaya would still stay close with Toho,
and they still use some miniatures.
Oh my god, that is brutal.
Yeah, holy shit.
What did you say, Matthias?
They still use some miniatures to make the tanks and the planes. They don't just use CGI nowadays.
Yeah, this feels like a set from like early Star Trek Next Generation, where they just have the background with a matte painting as the sky.
Sometimes you can see the zipper in the suits.
I would even go for the 60s Star Trek.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
What was the Gorn?
Well, that was
the alien?
That was shot
That's
on
a
set,
classic.
surprisingly.
Yeah.
Or in the desert.
That was shot
rather.
on set?
That was on.
That looked like...
That was
looked
on
like
set
real desert.
outside of California.
Yeah, the lighting, you could tell that when they changed certain scenes, it's like there's a set and they have to change. But yeah, no, that was mostly
Shatner had to like learn some martial arts for that one.
yeah, really slow versions of martial arts.
Which move?
Oh no, it's the gravity you see.
Oh yeah, really, really hardcore martial arts with weights. Yeah.
As well as Ishiro Honda directing some episodes for the franchise in Return of Ultraman.
Jesus.
However, the first Ultra series that came out of Tsuburaya Productions wasn't actually Ultraman, but rather Ultra Q, a sci-fi mystery series
Oh, no.
described as the
We're
Japanese
getting political
Twilight Zone,
here.
only with giant monsters. Ultra Q was one of the most expensive Japanese shows produced at the time, bringing the wonder and chaos of giant monsters to the small screen. The show was a massive success, and after it wrapped up in 1966, there's demand for more, in which a lot of the ideas of Ultra Q were taken and given a more superhero angle, which of course leads us to the debut of Ultraman, which also became an instant classic with its special effects, interesting sci-fi plotlines, and of course giant monster battles and heroics. With Ultraman doing so well for itself, there of course had to be a follow-up, which then brought us Ultra 7, which with its darker and more sci-fi focused plots, wound up being an even bigger hit than the first Ultraman series. With the immense popularity of the Ultras, the franchise began to grow even bigger.
One thing I
with
find
many more
funny
TV spin-offs, movies.
One thing I find funny in Ultraman is that France is always the HQ. France is the main HQ in all the series. But all the monsters attack Japan for some reason.
Interesting.
I like that they were not holding back with the costumes, with the monsters.
No, they
Either
are
they
super
just chop
creative.
off each other's heads, just like that. Like, okay.
There's one monster that I remember that I really like to watch. That it was a lizard that ate cocoa beans in Brazil, but it always migrated to Japan. And somehow it went nuts and started destroying things, and Ultraman needed to destroy it.
I couldn't find any cocoa beans anymore.
But there is one more than one cocoa beans farms in Bahia, so I don't know why it got so angry.
Manga,
Yeah, I really
comics,
like this
animation,
series.
commercials, a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and trust me, a whole lot more were made.
Oh my God.
Though it's not like it was entirely smooth sailing for the Ultraman franchise. There was problems with the TV series finding a right balance with its audience, with some of the following Ultra shows either being too kiddie or too dark. There were also hiatuses, financial issues, and probably the most pesky of them all, branching out to international markets, which sadly was way more of a pain in the butt for Tsuburaya than it should have been, mainly due to the giant and thankfully recently resolved legal battle against Chayo Productions, a Thai company that worked with Tsuburaya for some films that in turn tried taking the international rights of the Ultra series away from Tsuburaya Productions. If you want to know more about this, as well as the bizarre history of Ultraman being released in the West, then I highly recommend the video by Vintage Henshin regarding the topic. Ultraman as a franchise has a legacy as big as Ultraman himself, with the series' success in Japan really pushing what could be done in tokusatsu, allowed for new franchises to come out and get a bit experimental, eventually leading to Toei's and Shotaro Ishinomori's Kamen Rider, and later on Super Sentai, thus completing the big three of tokusatsu as we know it today. In a sense, Ultra 7 might have been the progenitor of collectible monsters, which would later take over the world.
Oh
in the
yeah,
90s.
Ultra
And
7
as in
had
the series,
monsters.
Ultra
Okay. So
Yeah, he before fighting the main monster, he would use one of his monsters to make the other weak, so he could fight.
what is strategy? You go kill yourselves.
So it's Pokemon?
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
And after you're weak, I'm gonna kick your ass. Like, okay.
He would throw a pill, and a monster would appear.
Oh boy. That's like Ash Ketchum. He just throws all his Pokemon at another Pokemon. You guys done? All right, now it's my turn. Like, okay. Pulls out a gun.
But this time it's giant Pokemons.
All for the XP.
Yeah. He's gotta get that final blow in there. Yeah.
7 extra capsules to summon kaiju to assist them in battle. Now, doesn't that seem familiar? Considering Pokemon series creator Satoshi Tajiri made Pokemon with a lot of the things that he loved in his own childhood, which included tokusatsu like
No
Godzilla.
way.
I don't want to fight, but I want to throw my monsters and I want them to win. We'll call it Pokemon. Like, oh.
I love
Perfect.
this.
It's like one aspect of the show. Let's make an entire show about just the monster fighting the other monster. We'll build up an entire infrastructure around it. That's the entire story. It's like, okay.
Oh, that's why the capsule monsters appeared in Lufia before Pokemon was a thing?
Yes.
Sure, well, let's go with that.
Finally, I have an answer to my childhood question.
The guys from Lufia were watching Ultraman. Yeah, that's got to be it.
Ultra 7 was a really cool show to watch. It is my little brother's favorite show instead of Ultraman.
Kamen Rider, and Ultraman, it's not too much of a stretch to see the influence of Ultraman and tokusatsu itself on Pokemon. One of my personal favorite manga series, Kinnikuman, initially started off as an Ultraman parody, before evolving into its own thing as a superhero wrestling series, which, considering Ultraman still technically wrestle with kaiju, I wonder if the whole wrestling aspect of Kinnikuman still came from Ultraman itself. And while the series has moved on...
Yeah, this is something really good, that the fighting scenes are better now. Because the fighting scenes in the original show are goofy, just to be gentle.
Let me guess, this one is super big in Brazil?
No, not this manga. Only the main shonen mangas are big here.
Yeah, this was actually shown in Canada. I never watched it per se, but it was on for a year or two at least.
Love, with Kinnikuman's son and lead of Kinnikuman Nisei, or Ultimate Muscle, being named Mantaro, which is a confirmed reference to Ultraman Taro, who was also the son of a powerful Ultra. Really, over the years, Ultraman references can be found practically everywhere. Anime, manga, cartoons, comics, movies, you name it. Of course, when talking about Ultraman influences and references, none are more well-known
Wow,
and
this
greater than
predates
Japanese
MK
directors,
Ultra.
one of them being Guillermo del Toro, a known fan of the Ultra series and used Ultraman
Oh,
and
the
various
Mexican
manga
weeb.
series as influence on the movie Pacific Rim. Subaraya even noted Del Toro's love for the franchise in Ultraman X, in which they named a planet after him, which is really sweet. However, the next director heavily influenced by the Ultra franchise
Oh,
is none
no.
other than Hideaki Anno,
Mr.
who's best known for
Depression.
producing Evangelion, and a bit more currently, Shin Godzilla.
That one
Anno
was
has
good.
admitted Eva having a lot of influence from Ultraman, and has even gone on record in saying that he currently wouldn't be where he is now if it was not for Ultraman.
Oh no.
He looks thin.
I just want to say
this
there's
is a-
only
this
one
is a-
movie of Pacific Rim. There's no sequel.
There never was a
I
sequel.
agree, but this picture makes me worried about Hideaki Anno. His head looks too big.
Are we
Nah, he's
sure
fine.
we got
He's
no
Japanese.
without any issue?
He's Japanese, Whisp. He's fine. Don't worry about
maybe
that.
he was working out to look like Ultraman. Maybe that's his whole...
Yeah, he's working for the role.
He's getting very lean and mean. He's like, I can do this. No carbs.
One thing he needs to be is he needs to grow up into a giant man.
Must be all the masturbation he does next to the
mean,
hospital
and-
bed.
No, bad
film in
comfort.
college was an
Womp.
Ultraman movie short in which he casted himself as Ultraman, which would eventually circle back.
No, don't do it, Hideo. Oh no.
We say a lot of mean things about Hideo, but we actually hope for his well-being.
Well, he got his dreams, so that's something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look, his enemy is a success. He doesn't need us to. He can handle more criticisms than many other people can.
That's
Just
true.
make better stuff than fucking Ava.
I mean, like, he made End of Evangelion because of the criticism, and see how that started.
Well, get
Yeah, well,
Well,
that
he's still got
was
money.
that was a back criticism at the fans to mean you just want to jerk off to see more stuff.
Is that finished? Is that finally done? We getting no more?
It is.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be any more Evangelion.
I thought so. Okay.
He rewrote the ending, so
Okay.
Again?
that's how hardcore he
The
was.
fourth time.
Perhaps
better
it is
back.
for the dude.
Fourth time's a charm. Oh my god.
235 in the chat tells us that we should watch Shin Ultraman. It turned out to be one of the most successful Japanese movies.
Really?
I am needing to watch Shin Ultraman.
All right.
And Tyler Preston says he made the Hideaki Anno made the last Kamen Rider movie, Shin Kamen Rider.
What Shin? Yeah, what Shin means? I don't know what it means.
I think it means the good movie.
Like
Shin,
So we need to
Shin
make-
means new.
So we need to make the Shin Smudcast.
Sure. I guess.
Let's roll with that.
back into great as he is currently working on Shin Ultraman, alongside with his friend and collaborator Shinji Higuchi, who worked as special effects director on the wonderful Heisei Gamera trilogy, which I also highly recommend. And
Gamera
guess what?
is
Higuchi
famous
also a
here too.
Ultraman fan. So I was already excited for Shin Ultraman, but knowing that the people working behind it are also very passionate fans for the franchise has me even more excited. Getting into the obvious with the appeal of Ultraman are of course its giant monster battles, which are always cool, seeing all the destruction and cool monsters getting blown away by our giant alien heroes.
Nice.
However, Tsuburaya has perfected giant monster battles, which is to be expected out of a franchise that's been doing it since the 60s, as the series from the very beginning has done an amazing job in selling the impact and scale of these clashes amongst giants, with every series I've watched so far having a great number of shots and scenes that have really wowed me. Especially with a lot more of the recent series that I would argue do a better job in portraying giant monster fights than most big budget.
Yeah, those are crazy camera angles. What do they do?
Uh-huh.
They put them on their feet? Like, what did they do? They with a gyroscope? I don't know what's going on.
It's just the
There's
GoPro.
sci-fi theme.
Oh, yeah, good point.
And there's the sci-fi themes of the franchise, since as I mentioned before, Ultraman is not just a great superhero series, it is also a great sci-fi series.
It depends how you define sci-fi, what your standards are for sci-fi. Just because you have aliens and robots and big giant creatures doesn't
It's
make it sci-fi.
On that end, it's just a superficial part of sci-fi.
Right. You're talking like Buck Rogers sort of sci-fi. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
adventure, explosions.
Well, yes, like Star Wars, it's space opera with, well, it's just space opera. It's just opera, basically.
Yeah.
It's more about the people and the adventure that happens, not about the philosophical implications of theoretical technology.
Yeah, unless you
The
get
only thing
someone...
that is what if Big Thing attacks us?
Yeah, that would be the philosophy of all the little ant humans on the ground going, what is the meaning of our existence if we're just going to get squashed by giant creatures everywhere we go? Even if we were to migrate to another planet, we'd get destroyed. Like, there would have to be a lot of that contemplation going on with the humans, or else it would be like, me crush big bug tomorrow. Like, okay, that's a great story.
With Extra Series giving a lot of focus on human and alien relations, the exploration of space and science, as well as the morality of fighting various aliens and monsters in the first place. Along with that, you have the ever-expansive universe and lore of Ultraman, as unlike Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, which for the most part have each series pretty unrelated to each other except for the occasional crossover special, anniversary series, or even rarer sequel series, Ultraman over its run has made a multiverse for itself. While each series can be enjoyed on its own and are self-contained in a sense, as for the most part each Ultra series takes place on a different Earth from the previous series, they still all share the same multiverse. Almost everything in Ultraman is connected somehow, especially now more than ever thanks to the new generation heroes I mentioned earlier. However, don't let that alarm you too much when getting into a series, as even if an Ultra series you decided to pick up refers to previous stuff and events, you can still enjoy
Yeah, they work pretty well alone.
What?
They work pretty well. They work well alone, so you don't need to watch one series to understand the other.
All right.
Nice.
Whatever you don't know being explained briefly, or just being added in for the sake of fan service for longtime Ultraman fans.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's kind of like Robotech or Macross or any of those other series. Like the premise is always the same, but they have a different iteration, different characters, different setting. So
I will say that these few scenes we see here, that's the best looking cheap stuff I've ever seen. Doctor Who can learn a thing or two or 3 or 500.
I think nowadays they actually do a lot of a lot of budget. They give a lot of budget to the production of Ultraman.
Budget?
Yeah, they give higher budgets to the show, to the shows.
Yeah, it looks great. It's like a super polished cheap stuff. It's great. I love it.
For first Ultraman was Ultraman Jeed, which in order to fully understand from the start would require you to watch 2 seasons of a spin-off series called Mega Monster Battle, then watch its 2 movies that introduce the characters of Ultraman Zero and Ultraman Belial, who are both important to Jeed's story. But despite me going into Ultraman Jeed blind from the rest of the Ultra franchise, I still really love Jeed. In fact, I can still say it's one of my favorite Ultraman series and possibly favorite tokusatsu series. Going in blind didn't hurt my overall experience. In fact, it made me want to seek out more Ultraman. After all, the tokusatsu shows were made.
What was that? Like the camera just spinning around a city? Like
he was transforming into the most powerful form.
Yeah, but there's like buildings in the foreground just spinning around. Like, what is happening? Is he throwing the city around? Is he?
I thought he was run gliding, moonwalk, transforming.
Gliding in the city.
It's like running through the city. Like whoa!
It looked
It's
cool,
kind of like
but
that old animation technique when you have like the foreground and the background like move in a different direction.
Yes,
that's kind of like the impression I got from them.
Parallax.
They must have this massive set on
Yeah,
the trolley,
parallax. Yeah, that's
and
the
they're
word.
just spinning the trolley round and around. And he's just going around.
Yeah, but this was not a spinning motion. This was a slide motion.
I guess like that's a lot of set to throw around in a room with a background and all this other crap.
Oh no, he's just standing in one place while like the background is moving on its own.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah,
imagine
that's what
either
I'm
they
gonna
had
say.
2 really long slides, or they were edited in post.
They will
I'm not
most
sure, it
likely edit
doesn't
in
look-
post. I can actually recreate this if I want to.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have like 50 meters of track with like all these props of buildings.
Yes, but
I think there is green screen, not the actual. Even though they still use it as
absolutely there has to be green screen.
this scene is probably green screen, not
I
the
do
actual.
all my stunts.
It looks like better. Then it looks like better green screen than some of the Hollywood movies.
I mean, it's pretty impressive. But I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand what's happening with the camera and the city and.
I thought it is
dancing?
like an opening sequence, like intro to like set the mood, but like I guess it could be a transformation,
It's pretty
as
wild.
Matthias was saying.
He's probably doing the super move after defeating. That's going to defeat the monster.
Aren't the Ultras not trying to fight in cities though? They're trying to avoid people and not.
Sometimes they have to fight in cities, but they usually go through through nature.
Right.
They gotta sacrifice some Japanese people, you see.
Yeah, like a few hundred.
It's the price that they have to pay.
Okay.
Almost every series in its debut will be someone's first within its franchise. That being said, the lore of the Ultra Multiverse is super expansive, constantly growing, and honestly I wonder if it's ever possible to fully grasp it all. As not only is there loads of material from the TV series, but there's also side stories, movies, net specials, spin-offs, anime, manga, stage plays. That's right, even the stage plays can feature canon material in the Ultraman Multiverse. And these stage plays don't even have to be featured in Japan. Quite recently, the Malaysian stage play Ultraman Reboot, was recently brought into the Ultra canon in the net special Ultraman Galaxy Fight. With Ultraman, almost everything could be canon if you give it long enough, so I'm just counting down the days till Ultra Neon.
Yeah, it's like Transformers.
That's crazy. Everything could be canon if you wait long enough?
It's a canon event.
What does that mean?
Like, look, it's just like Transformers. Everything is Transformers is canon. The games are canon. The Bay movies are canon. The cartoons are canon. The comics are canon. Even different comics that don't actually talk with each other are canon too. Like it's just like that.
How does that work?
That doesn't make any sense. It's like saying,
I mean, Devastation's like a prequel to the movie.
yeah, can you imagine all of the books from Star Trek or all the books from Star Wars were all canon? You're like, oh my god.
Please no. Please no.
Those are some really bad stories. I don't think they'll hold up. But this Ultraman is pretty light. Like, it's not this super complex narrative, so you don't have to worry about, magic powers or technology being too far out there. It's already far out there, so your imagination's already stretched. You don't have to think about it too hard. But cats, I don't know. It's a bit too much.
I don't know. It can happen.
Right, that reminds me. I wanted to watch Samurai Pizza Cats.
Oh yeah.
So it's like Ultra Pussy.
I was thinking of Superman. What's the super dog he's got? I can't remember his name.
Krypton.
His name is Krypton.
Crypto.
Yeah. It's like, how the hell did that work? Flying dog. Okay. Anyway.
Canon.
Oh my god.
While all this may seem like a lot,
Oh, that's what that Pokemon is based on.
Just know that being all up to date with the lore is not required at all to enjoy anything within the franchise. And looking more into the positives of this big continuity, if you're a person that likes digging up on the lore of a franchise, then congrats. As we've already discussed, Ultraman is totally for you, as you can easily spend hours just looking up the lore and origins of Ultras themselves.
Just training the recruits.
Also, thanks to this big continuity, we get to see Ultras both old and new constantly interact with each other, which is really awesome, as over the years, Ultras from the past have grown up and become parents or mentors for a new generation, which is super unique for a tokusatsu series, and kinda helps the Ultra franchise feel like something of a comic book universe like DC or Marvel. However, another thing that makes Ultraman so great, especially these days, is that it's extremely accessible when compared to a lot of other tokusatsu series. As mentioned before, Tsuburaya really did try to get Ultraman overseas before Chiro Productions put a lot of that on hold. Still, back in the day, Ultraman and Ultra 7 were dubbed in English, and there were a few more tries on that dubbing later on. We had that previously mentioned Hanna-Barbera cartoon that was supposed to become something more, as well as an actual American and Australian adaptation in Ultraman Powered and Great. And unlike Power Rangers, which sort of Frankenstein-stitched American original content with Super Sentai footage, Ultraman Powered and Great are what you expect out of an Ultraman series, just produced in a different country. Beyond that, we have an ongoing manga and Netflix anime series, a Marvel comic book series, and thanks to Mill Creek, loads of Ultra series, both old and new, getting official English releases, with quite a few of them being up on streaming services. Not to mention the Tsuburaya YouTube channel, where random episodes of various Ultra series are uploaded from time to time.
This sounds like he's trying to sell it.
Ultra series, at least as of this video.
Guys, watch the show. It's really good. Okay, I like it.
The entire purpose of this video is to sell the show.
Guys, go on this site and download this torrent file.
Don't you want to watch a bunch of guys in masks and spandex punch and kick each other? Isn't that great?
With lasers.
Like some of those
And
aliens
green screen.
Yeah, some of the the last one I saw with the caper, like he was walking really slowly, kind of reminded me of.
Yeah,
Berserk.
that's Ultraman Taro. He was actually teaching the young recruits in
No, that was dumb. I didn't like that at all. It was the it was the alien. Like he came out with this fire behind him and this dark cape. Like, ooh,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's Ultraman Belial, which is the villain.
oh yeah,
The Max
that's what I like. That looked really cool.
Ultra guts.
He wasn't like doing flips or anything. He was just sort of just walking. Like, oh, that looks cool. You gotta take what you can with these shows.
Named the same Japan with English subtitles on the YouTube
That
channel,
looked funny.
alongside the previously mentioned Ultra Galaxy Fight web series, which is huge for a tokusatsu franchise. This might not seem like a super big deal for anime fans, especially these days, but trust me, this is insane. As so many tokusatsu fans have
Does
no choice
insurance
but to
cover
fan
like
subs
every
in order
fight
to
that
watch
the
show.
Ultraman do?
Yeah, that was
Yes.
like watching Man of
yeah.
Steel like times 30.
Exactly.
Is this
Look,
what Star Wars
if
could have been?
if you are living in a world that monsters attack your Japan every day or every week, insurance will probably go around to cover the damages.
Yeah, that's Hideki's Anno's interpretation of why Tokyo 3 or whatever number it was has retractable buildings. He's like, what if Ultraman
well-
came here? Oh no, what would we do?
Why don't those fuckers just move away from them?
I want to fight in the structures. Like, go through them. Like, no, you don't. Oh.
Someone probably should do a comic or a book where every alien attack or every monster attack happens in New York or Tokyo, but none of the other places in the world. That would be funny.
Always.
Well, they are keeping the body of Lilith underground. That's why.
And they kind of start digging. Imagine all those other angels that didn't have any capabilities of going 50 layers down to the earth. Like, what were they going to do? They're just going to
They just gotta smash the ground
Just
until
gonna-
it's open.
jump up and down.
Also, you remember that Neo Tokyo has, with these retractable buildings, they go all the way through to the cave below, where they then stick out of the ceiling. So all the angel needs to do is to go through those tunnels and kick out the buildings from the top.
Oh,
yeah.
no!
That's
Oh
right.
no!
The Angel had the EVA units had like elevators that went straight to the top, so they were pretty far down. So yeah, they would just follow one of those.
But that's what one of them does. I think Zeruel, the one that broke Asuka's mind. Like he literally just went through the tunnel, blew the gate open, and just like flew down to the center.
Smart guy.
Is that in the original series?
Yeah, like the one that has paper arms.
Oh,
Like the one
I
that
forgot most of
almost
that
got
one.
there.
yeah. Too long ago.
That was the most awesome episode. Unit 1 just comes in and just punches him in the face. And then the whole series sucks afterwards.
Yeah, well, the action was great. I don't take that away from it.
All right, we are almost done.
shows, how we have so many more proper official methods of enjoying these awesome shows. Also, like, while we're on the topic of the YouTube channel, they occasionally upload these really small, wholesome videos with the Ultras saying thanks, as well as words of encouragement, and like, gosh darn it, isn't Ultraman just the greatest?
Ah,
Like,
you can
look at
see
him
the
with his
eye
little
holes.
YouTube plaque.
So
or,
weird.
I guess, huge YouTube plaque. No thank you, Mr.
This is canon.
This is canon that they have a YouTube channel.
Ultraman. Greetings,
I'm pretty
listeners.
sure it is canon.
Welcome to my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe while you're here. Okay.
I hear it's same in Tokyo, but
That has to be a
Subscribe it.
fucking gigantic YouTube play button.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's like
well, it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
30 stories tall.
It accidentally drops it down and it destroys Tokyo.
We had to mine out all the gold from China to make this play button.
Fortunately, they don't have this play button in Earth, but in their own planet or nebula. They are from the Nebula 71. So it's not on Earth. We can be safe about
It's
that.
a 7-hour flight.
Oh well, now he's gonna give us reasons why we should watch these shows. Here we go.
Alright, before we wrap up here, it's time to get into some recommendations. Keep in mind, I haven't seen everything Ultraman. As we discussed earlier, that's quite the
What the?
I feel betrayed.
That's Belial.
How could you not have done this?
Wait, but I didn't watch all the Ultraman too. I just watched the original, some episodes of 7 and Ultraman Max.
Well, maybe there's an Ultraman out there for everyone.
Well, there's probably is. Everyone who likes Pokemon can watch Ultraman 7 because he throws the monsters to weak them down.
That's great. That's the best takeaway from this is there's a guy who has pocket monsters who throws them at other monsters to beat them up so he has an easier time to fight them later. That's great.
It's called strategy.
I know, but he's like sacrificing his own pets. He's just like, here you go.
Where does he get
It
them?
doesn't work always, but not usually is wear down the enemy.
That also includes some of the series I'm going to be recommending here, as my recommendation for
Camera
newcomers here
angles.
is going to be based on my personal experiences, as well as what I've seen from Ultra fans online. First off, both the original Ultraman and Ultra 7 are great shows that built the foundation for every Ultraman series after it, so of course they would make for an ideal starting place for anyone interested in getting into the franchise. However, you also got Ultraman
That was like pretty weak MMA there, but he's kind of do some jiu-jitsu or something.
Yeah, I told you that the original series had some goofy fights.
Jump on him, roll around with him. Like, okay. I'm a supreme being.
It's not even that supreme being because he can't be on Earth for that long time. He can only be for 30 minutes.
Oh no, he's got a time limit. It's like, I can't do everything. I can only stop you. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's like Winspector?
Yeah, Inspector got that from Ultraman.
He can't do arm bars.
Oh,
he can't do
damn.
leg locks. It's too complicated. He's got to just stomp on him.
Yeah, after 30 minutes, the blue light in his chest start to bleed red, warning that he doesn't have a lot of time to fight the monster. And if the beat goes completely red, he dies.
Oh my. It's a pretty bad setup he's got going.
Like Winspector?
So yeah, he needs to fight the monsters very quick.
You think he'd like get a big gun, like he'd make a gun? And, like...
I mean, he does have a big gun. It is his arms because he can do laser beams. He can do a laser saw. and every end of the when he almost dying, he always do the beam of the saw.
Right at the end, he's like, forget this stupid punching thing. I'm just gonna shoot you.
Yeah,
Check out my
basically
guns. Oh, okay. Oy.
The Ultraman, or at least first Heisei in terms of TV series produced in Japan, Teika does a good job in feeling like a reintroduction to the Ultra franchise for a new era. And if you unfortunately can't handle the older special effects of the Showa era shows, Teika would make a great start in getting classic Ultraman with more modern effects. Then there's Ultraman Mebius, often considered the best anniversary season in tokusatsu, as it does a lot to introduce and flesh out a lot of the franchise's long-lasting lore for both longtime fans and newcomers alike, on top of just being an overall fantastic show in its own right. And now we need a rep for the...
It's just a great show, guys. I mean, look at it. It's just fantastic. Okay.
I mean,
Look, he's standing behind the sun.
It's
I mean,
incredible.
I mean, if you want cheap fights with giant monsters, I think it is a great recommendation.
Just because it's
And
a great show.
White
It's like, this is the greatest criticism. It's like, well, it's a fantastic show, but aside from that, it's like, okay.
To be fair, Smut, it is a great show, and I watch it, even though it's very cheap.
Oh, dear.
Seeing this makes me happy.
It does kind of make you smile, but for the wrong reason.
New generation heroes. The Jeed fanboy in me really wants to say Jeed, which again can still be an excellent starter, but really when thinking about it and seeing what I've seen online, I feel Ultraman Ore might do a lot better for someone who's new to the franchise, with it being able to stand on its own, along with the series' really fun and unique lead and his rival, and the series itself being a good display of the legacy of Ultraman. Again, these are just my personal recommendations for newcomers. Almost any series would work out as a starter for someone, and I'm sure there will be plenty of people in the comments leaving their own recommendations as well. Honestly, just look at an Ultra series, and if you think that Ultraman looks cool, then just go right ahead. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and are now ready to get into the wide and wonderful multiverse that is the Ultraman franchise. As always, I'm Mr.FalconPunch. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and maybe share this around to some potential Ultraman fans.
Potential.
I like the video.
Yeah, that was nice.
Fanboying about the thing he likes. Like, all right, that's fine.
And
Wait,
never to be
fair-
seen again.
To be fair, the show is really good. And there's a reason why he's fanboying, because it is good. If it wasn't good, there won't be a lot of references and people letting things from it.
Well, it's also possible that
He wasn't making excuses or anything.
well, he just says it's good, and then look at this. It's also has this, and you're like, okay.
There's nothing like self-aware cringe or anything. That is a good sign.
All right, here we got some memes, Superman and Ultraman. Okay, cool, interesting. I guess something. I don't. There's multiple Supermen. I don't know what's going on here, but okay. I think it's a meme.
Oh, that's the robot Superman.
Is it? I can't tell.
Yeah, with it's the eye. And for some reason, all these DC characters that get turned into half cyborgs or cyborgs, they always have the right eye cyborged.
That's Ultraman. That's the evil version of Superman, which is the leader of the crime syndicate. It's not Cyborg Superman.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I thought it was the cyborg one.
All right. Truth, justice, and beauty. What? Beauty.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, it's a nice
that is
suit.
ultra gay.
Maybe
Truth,
if,
justice, and aesthetics.
yeah, maybe if not every Ultraman was svelte and lean, maybe if they were like bulk and they were like strong physically, maybe that could be considered aesthetically. But everyone with a helmet is like, okay, that's something.
Oh god, this is the weapon that I was talking about. The plus beam or the L beam.
Which beam pose do you prefer, plus or L?
What's the difference?
One is longer, the other is shorter. That's
The one that covers more area?
Aren't they mostly L?
both are beams.
I can't tell. Anyway, whatever. Toho back in the 2000s, 2003 specifically created their own Super Sentai Power Rangers-esque shows. Chosation?
The
Oh, wow.
Jules, the Jules, just
Osation.
risers.
It looks like a crazy version of Ultron.
I mean, it looks Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That's
just like such a visual clutter. Like I can't see what the
I
fuck
know.
am I looking at.
This stuff. You're like, are those...
That's why I hate all of these shows.
It's like Voltron times 4. You're like, how many robots are there? Like, there's a lot.
Ramenzito.
Is that a reference to?
Yeah, that's the name of the guy who kills Ultraman.
Oh, jeez.
You can see him. You can see him on the left, near the name.
Yeah, but that's like
Zito.
it's like naming your hotel or whatever this is, like Darth Vader or something. Like, oh my god.
People would definitely go there.
Oh, maybe Darth Vader. Yeah.
If your villain's cool, people come.
So there's the L again, I think.
That's a plus sign,
Plus
and
sign.
Ultraman using the beam from Gun.
All right. I get another character who shares similarities to Ultraman, but more digital. However, I'm America. I'm America. You are America. All right.
He is America himself.
Gridman did had to undergo a different title with 4 S's galore.
Ooh.
That's
It's a
Super
good thing
User
that it's
Samurai
only
Cyber
4
Squad.
and not 2.
Great.
the Hyper Agent Blu-ray box.
Imagine the hero, the SS.
SS. Superhero and Samurai Cyber with an S Squad. Okay.
I mean, it's 4S. That's
So that's technically Sentai. It's a squad, so all right. How humanity sees ultras. How average aliens see ultras.
They're
yeah.
Green Lanterns.
They're pretty much guardians that shoot beams of energy at you.
They are like space Americans because they go around promoting their culture's set of values.
Ah, you need to understand your enemy. They suffered like you. You can't solve things with violence. Kaiju and alien go boom.
That's true.
Well, I guess there's something to be said of simplifying your conflict. It's like, oh, big alien creature bad, magical man thing with helmet good. The Rise of Ultraman, all right.
That was Marvel?
Ultraman, the Mystery
yeah,
of
Marvel.
Ultra 7. Okay. Not sure what's going on in this photo, but...
No, because one of the enemies of Ultraman is named Bolton. He's a lobster. He's a giant space lobster
Oh.
who apparently have human feet, but lobster hands.
So he's strangling his head? I don't know what's going on here.
It's hard to make out.
It's like a headlock, and he's punching him in the face? I don't know.
He was going to do the plasming in the lobster.
Oh. That's cute. Subro to their fans, Toei to their fans. That's good. Oh. Does Toei hate their fans? I don't think
Yeah, they do. Like any content that you upload to YouTube, it's gonna get taken down in an instant.
so. Yeah. This is what?
The super bucket.
The super bucket? He throws water at him?
Yeah.
Water is his great weakness, so he comes to planet Earth where there's 70% water? Okay, I mean that's
It's amazing.
we just fight him near the ocean. I can make a bucket. Why do I need to drag him to the ocean? Okay, fair enough.
It's easier to use a bucket when you are in dry land.
The one behind Ultraman is King Protea from Fate Grand Order. Are you serious? Fate took something? Or this is,
Everyone is Ultraman. Like we can trace back every single series to Ultraman.
All roads leads to
I
Ultraman.
wonder what the JoJo inspiration is. Or the influence.
Isn't Feast of the North Star who inspires JoJo?
I would say
Well,
yes.
but
But
like the first book was heavily inspired by Fist of the
Like the
North Star.
first two or so parts.
Yeah.
And then the third one, it goes in a little bit of a shift forward. The shift gets a bit more noticeable. 5, it's completely noticeable.
I mean, until the author who makes JoJo makes a giant stand, I don't think he have Ultraman as one of his inspirations.
what does this say? Just look around you. You didn't protect the damn thing. That's good.
That's awesome.
This is the response of every human after every fight. Like, what are you doing?
Someone needs to like edit this into Man of Steel.
Yeah, just put Superman in the foreground, the first panel, just flying.
Normal day in Japan.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I imagine the house marketing for Japan is actually got kind of crazy in the Ultraman world.
Japan
Well,
is
architecture would change into being semi-stable, where it's made that these super beings can stomp through them, but they won't collapse.
Yeah, no, Japan is very creative with pretty much every promotion, whether it's food or cartoons or animation. Like it doesn't like they will do crazy stuff on buses with signs and people dancing and music. It's crazy. This crossover is a survival game where you gotta avoid getting crushed by these tokusatsu fights. Includes scenarios featuring Ultraman, Godzilla, Gamera, and Evangelion. For some reason, it isn't any good, but it's a neat idea.
I will probably check it because I am a masochist and I like playing bad games.
This is not the story of some hero. This is your story. Oh, so you're not a hero? What are you?
You are a hero
civilian.
trying to survive the not being stomped by Ultraman. Or
I like
Godzilla.
the idea. I like the concept.
Well, yeah, but it's basically Donkey Kong. Like you're just dodging barrels, but they happen to be feet.
Yeah, but instead of barrels, you're dodging feet and not being smashed by giant creatures.
I don't know what's going on here, but okay. Is that Batman?
It's Batman and Ultraman Gaia. Or,
Oh,
no, it's not Gaia. It's you're probably wrong about that.
that probably doesn't overlap very much.
Now that's a giant Gatling gun. that's not a small Gatling gun.
Yeah, see, this is what I was expecting him to do: is build a giant gun and just shoot everything that comes at him after all these years.
Those bullets are probably the size of a beauty.
Yeah. Now I need to be Ultraman. I drew Ultraman using a photo of Dave Batista as a reference. Like the way it came out. Okay.
But I would actually think it would be interesting to see Batista doing stunts for Ultraman.
Well, at least he has some physique. Ultraman seem pretty thin, so. The Ultraman cartoon that America could have gotten back in the 80s? Oh, yeah, but there were so many weird things in the 80s.
Yo, this looks cool.
Yeah, I was watching.
Ultraman,
Yeah.
Ultraman USA.
I was watching Grandizer Go in the 80s, so that was. And Robotech and Voltron. So that was just from Japan. And there's other stuff from America. Like G.I. Joe and Gem. Advanced civilizations and other sci-fi know we cannot interfere with lesser races, even if they'll die otherwise. Ultras when an alien looks at Earth funny.
Yeah, I think that is Jean-Luc Picard.
Ultra 7 with Ultra Weight all walks in. It's playing Freebird now.
Oh. Godzilla fans, Kong fans, me an Ultra fan.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
We watched the fight, man.
Ultra Olympics, Ultraman, Ultra 7, Ultraman Jet. Okay, I get it. Ultraman Ace, Zoffy.
Zoffy is the elder.
All right, there's the alien Boltons. Okay.
AK Ultra.
They don't know I'm going to touch the plasma spark. Okay.
That's lore that I don't know.
I knew Ultraman was big in Japan, but I had no idea how far-reaching and central the cultural impact is.
Yeah,
Well,
it is influential.
Ultraman created Japan. I'm convinced
everywhere.
now.
I mean, we could give the joke about how the atomic bomb created anime. This might be the original inspiration that caused the, I wouldn't say the zeitgeist, but the cultural consciousness of Japan to have these giant creatures represent things like atomic bombs, and that how they respond to that by creating stories for their children to make them inspired by heroes. So it does make some sense.
Yeah, the logic I would go is the nuclear bomb created Godzilla. Godzilla created the kaiju genre, and in response,
The tokusatsu was born.
Yeah.
Or the guy who made Godzilla, which he showed us, had to keep making money somehow, so he decided to go
Yeah,
to
and
cartoons.
that done
Well, that's-
animation.
Well, that was
It was fun.
different. Yeah, I'm like, okay, Ultraman, interesting. Yeah, I know it's a very specific genre. It's been around for a while, and it's changed over the years, but the format's pretty much the same. Guys, in case you haven't noticed, the animation quality jumped up there. The live action stuff, obviously, better effects. But the premise seems to be all the same.
Yeah,
Me
it's
personally, I
most-
can't wait to see a showdown between him and Pepsi Man.
The Pepsi Man need to be a giant to fight Ultraman.
He can be. Like you just
He
need to
accidentally gets
make him
some-
drink like more Pepsi.
No, Pepsi Man, in the middle of his Pepsi run, runs into just a lab experiment in the middle of the making. And it gets hit by an enlargement ray. Now he's just terrorizing the city, running through it.
Well, they could sell
Well, it would.
Pepsi Max or whatever. They could make a new flavor and they call it like Ultra Pepsi or something. And
Pepsi.
Ultra
The
Pepsi.
great Pepsi.
If Pepsi didn't already make some special can for Ultraman.
you can imagine,
See?
yeah, imagine Pepsi or Coke or whomever making geographic brands or seasonal brands because of a marketing stint. And they see, hey, they work out in Singapore. Yeah, the Singaporeans loved it. Okay, let's try Japan. They do the same thing. They just keep going and going until no one likes it in America. Like, what the hell? Where's my normal Pepsi Max or whatever it's called? So it's possible they could spend a few $100,000 here or there, and they might make a few million if it's successful. But who knows? I don't know how marketing works with consumer staple companies, but it's possible. Whew. All right, that was different for me. I didn't grow up with Ultraman, but I do know of it. Everyone knew of it. We just never really watched it, except for Matthias, of course. So, all right, guys, it's a wonderful day. The weather's fantastic this week. There's no rain in sight, but the temperatures are just fantastic. So go outside, get some vitamin D, and I don't know, pet a dog, that sort of thing. Don't kick a dog. That's mean. But after watching Ultraman, you probably want to not kick a dog.
Yeah, especially if John Wick is around.
Oh my.
Well, if the dog's a bomb.
Well, I mean that's up to your discretion, but I mean you probably shouldn't involve yourself. Anyway, thank you guys for that strange and fun recommendation. As always, it's Anime Day. We try to keep it to Anime Day. We could have another one about anime tomorrow. We don't know, but up to
Depends on bears.
bears. Well, no, it depends.
Come on, we need bears for this one.
It's up to the recommendation
Is it
list.
Thursday?
But if it is going to be another anime, it's fine. We can still do it. But not in the anime section. Just recommend your normal recommendations in the recommendations tab, or channel rather. That'll be much more helpful. So, thank you guys. Have yourself a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Night.
Bye-bye.